You know it. Not perfectly, not with that clear and unblemished certainty you'd like to have. But you know it nonetheless. There's something about the way she stands when you're there. Something in her eyes a split second before she looks away. Something in the quality of her silence, not the cold silence of indifference, but the warm, slightly tense silence of someone holding something back. You sensed it several times, and you didn't imagine it. And yet something is amiss. The words won't come. The distance remains. There's a door between you that seems about to open, but doesn't. And you don't fully understand why. You can't decide if what you're perceiving is real, or if you're just telling yourself what you want to hear. If her restraint speaks of a feeling searching for its form, or of an absence you're filling with your own desires. Perhaps she's been hurt before, deeply. In a way you might not know all the details of, but whose outlines you sense in the way she moves, with a caution that sometimes resembles coldness, but is something entirely different. Perhaps she's carrying something between you two, a misunderstanding, a fear, an unfinished story, that's preventing her from taking the step that something inside her seems to want to take. Tonight, I'm going to give you a real understanding of what goes on in the soul of a woman who loves but is held back. Not a list of superficial signs, something much deeper, a precise map of the inner territory of someone whose feeling is real and whose restraint is equally real. Carl Jung, one of the greatest explorers of the human soul the world has ever known, spent decades trying to understand precisely this configuration. These beings, who feel deeply and simultaneously carry something that prevents them from moving toward what they feel. These souls, where love and fear occupy the same inner space, without one erasing the other, without one easily yielding to the other. And the concept he developed to understand this configuration is called the complex. A constellation of feelings, memories, fears, and beliefs that has formed around an old wound, and continues to operate autonomously in the psyche, regardless of what the person consciously wants. In short, a complex is an old wound that has become an internal law, and this law can hold someone back even when their heart wants to move forward. What she feels for you is real, and what's holding her back is just as real, and understanding both, without reducing one to the other, is what changes everything. Jung observed something that few people around you seem to see with sufficient clarity. People who have been wounded in their deepest connections, in those relationships that have touched something essential, that have left marks on the very structure of their trust, their openness, their willingness to be seen, these people don't become incapable of loving. They become cautious in ways that others don't always understand. Their love remains intact, often even deeper, more conscious, more precious than that of people who have never truly been hurt, because they know exactly what love costs, what a betrayed trust does inside, what the loss of a deep connection leaves as a scar. And this knowledge doesn't make them cold. It makes them slow, meticulous, incapable of opening themselves up lightly. And when something real happens, when someone like you comes into their life with something deep enough for them to feel, something complicated happens in their psyche. The feeling is there, fully, but the complex is there too. And the two coexist in a tension that produces exactly what you observe. A person who seems about to move forward but doesn't. A person whose feeling you perceive, but whose silence you don't understand. This is not ordinary ambivalence. This is not strategic hesitation. This is the coexistence of two real and powerful forces occupying the same internal space. But here's what Jung would add. And this is the level of understanding that most people never find in this type of situation. What's holding her back isn't you, and it's not her lack of feeling. What's holding her back is something that existed before you, something that formed in another story, something that learned a lesson about what happens when you truly open up, and is now applying that lesson with a precision her consciousness doesn't fully control. This isn't a decision she made. It's a defense mechanism her subconscious built. And this defense, however painful it may be to observe from the outside, made sense at one point. It preserved something important. And now it finds itself trapped in your way of being, without her fully knowing how to dismantle it. You are not the problem. You are someone who finds themselves facing a door that someone else closed a long time ago. And somewhere deep down, you already knew it. Not consciously, perhaps. But something inside you knew that what was holding her back wasn't disinterest. Something inside you had sensed, in the spaces between her words, that the restraint came from a deep place, not from calculation, not from indifference, but from a pain older than you. Something inside you had understood that this silence wasn't empty. It was full of something she didn't yet know how to navigate. Herein lies the paradox at the heart of what you are experiencing, and it is essential to hear it in all its truth. The person who keeps you at a distance is often the one who most needs to get closer. Just one sentence, and it changes the way you read all that silence. Jung would explain this paradox in this way. When a wounded complex is activated, when someone gets close enough to touch the protected area, the unconscious deploys its defenses with an energy proportional to the importance of what it is protecting. In other words, the more significant the potential connection, the stronger the defenses can be. This isn't irrationality. It's the logic of psychological survival. The unconscious has learned that deep exposure can produce deep wounds, and it protects all the more actively what is precious, what is vulnerable, what has already been touched and hurt. So when she stiffens precisely at the moments when you get closest, when the distance seems to increase exactly when something greater seems possible, it's not rejection, it's fear. And fear, in this context, is proof that something real is at stake. Indifference needs no defense. You don't protect what doesn't matter. This movement, between attraction and restraint, between openness and closure, occurs in distinct phases in the inner life of someone like her. And understanding these phases can help you see where she is and what the situation truly requires. The first phase is what I call recognition, despite fear. This is the moment when something within her recognizes something within you. Not necessarily consciously, but something prior to rational thought, a recognition at the level of the unconscious, a resonance between what you are and what a part of her seeks, without fully admitting it to herself. And immediately after that recognition, something else was activated. The memory of what the last time had cost, the awareness of what she would risk by truly opening up. Not an articulated thought, a sensation, a slight contraction, an inner signal that said, "Be careful." In this phase, she doesn't yet know for sure what she's feeling. She perceives the resonance, and she perceives the fear. And the two arrive together so close that she can't yet disentangle them. The second phase is what I call the alternation between openness and withdrawal. This is probably the phase you're observing right now. Those moments when something between you eases, when a connection seems to form naturally, when she's present in a way that confirms what you're feeling. And then something changes. She pulls away. She reverts to a more neutral, more controlled, less revealing way of being. This alternation isn't manipulation. It's not calculated. It's the complex at work. The tension between what she feels and what her inner defenses tell her is dangerous to feel. And this tension produces an inconsistency that can be unsettling to observe, because it seems to deny what appeared to be real. But what was real in the initial moments was real. What subsequently recedes doesn't negate what happened. It simply proves that the two forces still coexist, and that neither has yet prevailed over the other. The third phase is what I call the silent test. In this phase, she's assessing something she may not be consciously articulating, but which her unconscious is measuring with precision. Your consistency. Your way of remaining present, without being intrusive. Your ability to withstand the pressure without collapsing or withdrawing. Your way of showing her, not through pronouncements, but through the steady texture of your presence, that you're not someone who disappears when things get complicated. This test isn't strategic on her part. She's not consciously choosing it, but her subconscious needs proof that the security it seeks can exist with you. And this proof doesn't come from words. It comes from time, from consistency, from the way you continue to be there with the same quality of presence, even when she withdraws. But here is what Jung would add, and this is the most demanding part of tonight, the part that shifts the gaze from the other to yourself in a way that deserves to be looked at squarely. Everything I told you about her is real and important, and all of this shouldn't just be something you observe. Because here is the question Jung would ask you directly. Why are you waiting for someone who cannot yet move towards you? Not with judgment, with curiosity. What does this situation, this way of being there for someone who isn't yet fully available, say about you? About what you're looking for? About what you're ready to give and what you're ready to receive? Because very often, people who become deeply attached to someone who is being held back have something to explore about their own relationship to availability. Perhaps a part of them feels safer in incomplete love than in fully given love. Perhaps a habit of putting themselves at the service of another's pain rather than being present to their own desires. This isn't an accusation, it's an invitation. Because if something within you finds something familiar in this position, in this role of waiting, understanding, and staying, then perhaps the real question tonight isn't just why she's being held back. It's also what you truly want, and whether you would allow yourself to receive it if she offered it fully. You deserve someone who can be there for you. Not perfectly, not without their own complexities. Nobody is without complexities. But someone whose direction is towards you, even if the path is non-linear. And she deserves the time and space to go through what she's going through at her own pace. Not the pace you want, not the pace the situation seems to demand. Her pace, which depends on inner work you can't do for her. What you perceived is real. Her feeling is real, and what's holding her back is real too. These three things coexist. And they aren't resolved by patience alone, nor by insistence, nor by strategic distance. They are resolved, if they are resolved at all, by something more fundamental. Two people each doing their own inner work, separately, and then coming together with something more whole to offer. You're not wrong to love her. You're not wrong to see what you see in her. And you're not wrong to feel that something real exists between you. But you also have the right, and perhaps the responsibility to yourself, not to put your entire life on hold for something that has not yet found its form. She carries something deep for you, silently, behind a door she doesn't yet know how to open. And you carry something deep for her, with all the patience and strength that entails. What you both wear deserves to be seen. By her, by you, and perhaps one day, together. In the meantime, take care of your own feelings, not just hers. You deserve to be supported by someone too. It's no coincidence that you're here tonight, and it's no coincidence that something in those words recognized you. Your soul knew it needed this clarity. It has it tonight. Just tell me one thing in the comments. Are you waiting for someone who seems to be holding back right now? One word is enough. I read every message. Subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video tonight with someone who loves someone who's reserved, someone who needs to understand what's really going on the other side of the silence. Take care of yourself.